So Chad from Texas asked me, how do you develop good fighter mindset? What Chad realizes from prior videos is, yeah, you get the guns and you get the training on the guns, get good fitness and start learning tactics and all that stuff's well, but if you don't have good underlining mindset, all of that is really not going to be very helpful, because it's going to come down in a violent encounter to you and your fear and what you're able to actually accomplish. Now, to those who haven't been tested by fire, some are asking the questions of like, hey, I don't know, how do I know I would respond well? And there's nothing you can really do to guarantee that you will respond in a plausible manner. Really, just to be, blatantly obvious or naked in front of you guys, I've been everywhere on the sliding scale of hero to absolute coward. And if all of a sudden, in the right circumstances, something bad had happened when I was at a freezing moment. I've had 2 freezing moments in combat, and someone had died, that would have been on me. In other scenarios, I've been like, that went very well. Good, yeah, all right. And so I want to approach this subject with a token of humility, and despite whatever experiences that I've had, I wouldn't be so presumptuous to say because I have done something well before, I'm guaranteed to do it well in the future, which is not true. I could do very well in a future encounter or very poorly. So what really becomes important is, what is your underlying fighter mindset? Hey, buddy. Do you want to come say hello to the video? Daddy's talking about fighter mindset. Come sit up here. Can you wave? Can you say hello? Say what? Wave. Hey, say hi.
Hi.
Did you know Daddy will fight for you?
Yeah.
Did you know Daddy loves you?
Yeah.
All right, go play. Go watch your show. Yeah. All right. So one good way that we develop good fighter mindset to make sure that we can rise to the occasion and not cower in our fear is to love people more than you love you. And I know there's some just wouldn't connect that with gunfighting, but this has everything to do with it. Would you die for your family? And if you answer yes, and many of us would, then you should be more afraid of losing your family than you are of losing your life. So that when it calls into question, you don't care. You'll take bullets as long as it doesn't land in there. You're ready to go. Then you have to answer other questions. Would you die for someone else's family? With somebody you knew and you kind of liked? Would you die for strangers you'd never even met before? And so that becomes the only question that actually matters in a violent encounter. Would you die for people you don't know? Who would you die for? When? How? Why? All that stuff becomes the only question in the universe when you're faced with it. And all your other training doesn't really matter as much unless it happens automatic. Sometimes events can transpire so quickly, you don't think about it, you just respond or something else like that. But especially if fear creeps in and you have a moment to think about it, this becomes the only real controlling question, and you got to rise above it. Another thing is just you become so furious in the midst of something. That inner rage monster bursts out, and you're so furious that someone have the audacity to try to shoot you, you're ready to go to work. And that's good fighter mindset as well. The hard part is it's hard to conjure up rage, and rage can very quickly turn to despair, which is not as helpful. A final thing is good fighter mindset could come by your theological beliefs. So, for instance, there were Christians in the first century, a guy named the Apostle Paul, and Paul got beat up all the time. This guy was, imagine Rodney King getting beat with rods. Paul got beat up 3 times with rods within an inch of his life. He got whipped to basically a stroke of his life 5 different times. Once he got stoned, which is a death sentence. This guy had to have been ugly as a troll. And this was a historical figure. He lived in the first century. Some already clicked off the video because I mentioned Bible, and you're so prejudiced against it. Somebody mentions that, you're like, oh, click, something. But anyway, it's a good historical example of this guy had good fighter mindset. He believed something about an afterlife, and he was so sure of it, death, torture, didn't really matter to him. That's awesome fighter mindset. Soldiers are usually some of the best at fighting but it doesn't mean they have the best fighter mindset. So for instance, the Apostle Paul, I'd say that dude had better fighter mindset than I'll ever have. And then even in, I think it's Philippians 3, where he said, hey, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain, which meant he was a dude with a death wish. I think he wanted to die. He was like, ready, yeah, sign me up. I'll go be with Jesus. To him, it wasn't a bad deal. And then hundreds of thousands of Christian martyrs would die over the next couple centuries under the might of the Roman Empire, who was desperate to stop the wildly fast-spreading Christianity that threatened the whole Roman Empire, as it was converting people in droves by the beauty of its message. And that's just historical fact. I'm not, there's no whatever agenda. I'm not pushing or lobbying here. I'm just saying, hey, we're onto something with good fighter mindset. They believe something about the afterlife so that this present life didn't hold much sway on them. So somebody could shoot back and be like, hey, that's true for the radical extremists dying for Islam. And I'm like, yep, that's absolutely right. So just so we're clear, I'm like, hey, I'm not saying that this is the only theological viewpoint that produces good mindset. Others do as well. I fall in the Christian persuasion, and that has been my little secret for being able to rise above occasions in difficulties. So let's take a scenario, and Chad, who I was talking to, we talked about the same scenario. Imagine an active shooter scenario playing out, and you're within earshot of a school, and all of a sudden automatic gunfire or whatever starts lighting it up. Do you, one, preserve your own life so that you can stay with your family or whatever else? You preserve your life. And if you choose that option, I'm not judging you for it. I'm not playing morality police or anything else like this. This is just a question to get you thinking. That's all. No moral high roads here. Just you think about it. Think it over. Call police, by the way, if you decide that option. Number two, do you start closing the distance, but because you're not really ready to die, you kind of wait. Maybe if you had a close shot or something, or you saw something, you're able to ambush them, you're good to go. Or three, do you just take the fight, full sprint, take the fight to them, which may very well get you killed. And that can be a very dumb thing to do, is immediately close distance, straight, run toward the gunfire. One, you may be face to face, all of the sudden exchanging gunfire with people who are already taking people out, and indiscriminately at that. Two, a responsible armed citizen could see you moving and shoot you thinking that you're part of the active shooter force, or the police could do the same thing as well. So there's lots of things that could go wrong in that scenario. So somebody that would say, hey, personally, I'm call police, and immediately I'm sprinting toward it. And if I die, then I went out with my boots on. I'm ready for that. That's okay. My family's ready for that as well. If my wife has a similar worldview for me, and if I got shot up in that, though my wife, I believe, would be devastated. I think she'd be proud. I think she wouldn't have had it any other way, and she would write victorious on my casket. I'd trade my life for them, and every gunshot, every second is another dead kid. So if I go out in defending them or trying to mitigate, save that extra one shot, that's a good way to go for me. I'm ready for that. And so that's kind of my framework. I understand the risks, and there's better ways where I could stay alive and take them out, but I can't allow the extra seconds as kids are dying. And so all of a sudden your moral framework becomes your controller about what you would and wouldn't do. So I'll also give a hand to cops who over and over will immediately take the fight to different folks. So they're risking lives. It's good fighter mindset. So my desire in kind of kicking up this issue is to force you to confront with some of those, you see that the moral and philosophical, theological beliefs that bubble underneath the surface, the stuff that gun people don't like to talk about, but it's all that really matters. So my intention is to make a series of videos on the topic of fighter mindset. This will mark episode 1. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, comment, please subscribe, and share. I'm trying to build something here, and you can be a part of it. Thanks, guys. As always, warrior poets, train hard but train smart. See you guys. Thanks for staying tuned.